West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy with Chef Justice Putnam. Netrootsradio.com.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, qu'il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte.
Ellie, first on possible witness tampering, the more we are learning about it, the worse it sounds. I mean, how much trouble could this now mean for the people around Donald Trump and Donald Trump himself if they were trying to influence Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony?
Okay, I've done obstruction of justice and witness tampering cases. I've certainly done my share of them. And often the communications that you're looking at are vague or ambiguous, and you sort of have to read between the lines. That is not the case here. The strongest line in what we've seen is you have to protect who you need to protect. That is about as straightforward as it gets when it comes to witness tampering. Now, the committee, it sounds like, according to Manu's reporting, they've been asking everybody, has this been communicated to you? They need to get their arms around how many people have heard this kind of threat, and they need to enlist the United States Department of Justice, as Liz Cheney suggested, because the committee, frankly, is defenseless here. They can't bring obstruction charges. Only DOJ can. DOJ needs to do that. They need to get on that to protect the committee's investigation, to protect DOJ's own investigation, which apparently is ongoing, and to send a message to people around Donald Trump. This is not tolerated. There will be real consequences. Only DOJ can impose those consequences.
Yeah. Alyssa, you're close with Cassidy Hutchinson. I mean, you said today that you helped her when she had reached out about wanting to say more to the committee, and also in doing so needing a new attorney to kind of move forward, as we've now seen as it play out. So based on what you know, are you surprised to hear that she was one of the people on the receiving end of these messages?
I wasn't surprised, and in fact, I kind of expected when Congresswoman Cheney read through those that at least one of them had gone to Cassidy. When we spoke, and I don't want to betray her confidence, but the sense that I got was somebody who didn't feel empowered to share what they knew and their knowledge, and there was a level of intimidation there. And one thing I want to note, Ellie's the lawyer, and I think he laid out beautifully what the actual issue as far as witness tampering is, but Cassidy Hutchinson is now facing a smear campaign. And what is really, the Trump world is trying to make an example of her right now in the public eye to try to scare other witnesses out of coming forward. Some of what's been pushed about her, and luckily credible sources aren't publishing a lot of it, but she is coming under an onslaught from Trump world. And that's just another way, this sort of thuggish way in which they try to keep people from telling the truth.
I think that's a really important point. It's not just efforts leading up to, it's during and after, as you're laying out now. It's ongoing still, no matter who it is, where it's coming from. It's coming with the motivation of exactly what you're saying, a smear campaign. Gloria, members of the committee have suggested, as Mani was laying out, that there is more evidence of possible witness intimidation. What's your gut tell you on where this goes? Because the committee has so much it's focusing on as well, not just, obviously, questions and concerns of witness intimidation.
Well, I think it goes to the Justice Department. And I think that what they have to do at the committee is figure out who is doing the witness tampering here. Where did these calls and come from, or emails come from, and to whom, and was it the same person, and did they do it at the behest of someone like Donald Trump, for example, or did they do it on their own, and did they do it multiple times? I mean, I think that, this is something that clearly needs to be investigated. And if they've asked these questions to every witness, then they can collate all this information. And I think Liz Cheney is right. I mean, this is not for the Congress to decide, but I think they can hand this over either as a referral or just hand over the information to the Justice Department and let the Justice Department investigate.
Yeah, Alyssa, I do want to ask you, because you're talking about the smear campaign, and Donald Trump himself is not just in statements, but he is now out there responding to Cassidy's testimony, and unsurprisingly at all, he's attacking her personally, trying to attack her credibility. I want to play just some of what he said, and I say this with the caveat of, I want to play this not to have it out there, but because this is what those who may speak to the committee, this is what they are seeing. This is what they have to consider, because this is what Trump is putting out there in terms of attacking these people. Listen.
This lady yesterday, there's something wrong with her? The woman is living in fantasy land. Some whack job. She's got serious problems. Let me put it that way.
What did you make of Fox
Mental
News?
Problems.
I mean, what do you say to that, Alyssa?
Well, it's classic Trump playbook. After I've spoken out against him, he's put out 2 statements against me using very similar language, calling me a clown, a loser, a nobody, says he doesn't know
You're
me. He's
absolutely right.
running
Almost absolutely the same language. I now remember that. It's striking. I didn't think of that until now.
Exactly, and it's actually quite lazy, and listen, I've been in Air Force One's, the presidential cabin with Cassidy Hutchinson and Donald Trump, so it's like, it's an absurdity, but I do think how aggressive he's been in responding to this hearing in particular shows what a nerve her testimony struck. He put out a number of posts on his Truth Social, I think half a dozen, the most he has after any hearing after Cassidy's testimony, and then his aides made the decision to put him on Newsmax to talk about this. I've also seen sort of a full force pushback from some of the MAGA world loyalists, putting them on the airwaves of other networks, pushing back on social media. I think that he really feels the pain of this. I think he's realizing this is impacting people.
Gloria, can I also ask you, I want to play something just to bring this all together, if you will. I want to play something that Liz Cheney said during her speech at the Reagan Library. Listen to this.
At this moment, we are confronting a domestic threat that we have never faced before. And that is a former president who is attempting to unravel the foundations of our constitutional republic. As we think about the choice in front of us, we have to choose, because Republicans cannot both be loyal to Donald Trump and loyal to the Constitution. At this moment,
quite an interesting speech to give to a Republican audience in 2022, right, Gloria?
And to be met with a round of applause. I mean, let's just set the scene here, because it's truly remarkable. Here she is, Liz Cheney, daughter of a former vice president, speaking at the Reagan Library, saying that the former president, who, by the way, is right now probably the front runner for the Republican nomination in 2024, calling him a domestic threat and saying that he is a threat to democracy, and she gets applauded by Republicans.
The choice is the Constitution or following Trump.
That's right.
It's not more. It doesn't get more stark than that. Ellie, really quick before we go, I do want to ask you about Pat Cipollone, because he's now even more squarely in the spotlight now. CNN learned that he may agree to a limited transcribed interview with the January 6th committee. He's received a subpoena, as we now know. If he can't talk about privileged conversations that he had with the president as White House counsel, which is understandable, how much of a difference do you think this can still make?
Yeah, Kate, in an ideal world with unlimited time and resources, you would go to court if you were the committee and try to force him to talk about everything. I don't think he has a valid executive privilege claim. That said, they're under the gun here, and I think they've made the calculation that getting something is better than nothing. So even if they can't ask him about the most important thing, his conversations with Trump, he still had plenty of important conversations with other White House staffers. We know about some of them from Cassidy Hutchinson. I would want to know what he discussed with Mark Meadows and with other key players so they can still get something really valuable out of him.
It is Friday, the 1st of July of 2022, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner the English Bulldog is our snoozing sous chef, and our daily special is Blue Moon Spirits Fridays because, well, we are all Nighthawks in the Diner of Life. Well, it's Friday. The world is going to hell. We got the midterms coming up, and we've got to steel our nerves because every little chink in our armor that gets chinked out will, I got to tell you, hurt us in the midterms. So I'm not saying run away from the truth. What am I getting at? I'll get to it in just a moment. No, I'm not. But it would be nice if we had a bit of, positive reporting as well, rather than always going after Biden and Harris. Okay, so I did a little bit of research because Joe Biden apparently made a deal with McConnell to get a blue slip appointee who happens to be a anti-abortion judge, apparently, district judge in Kentucky. So I did a little bit of digging, and there was no vacancy currently. Knowing, as we all know, I mean, if any of us have been around, and we've all been around, that there possibly is a judge who's going to announce their retirement, and that will open up a vacancy. And so we have anonymous sources, and yet I know Bashir confirmed it, but I looked, there was no current vacancy on the court. But there were 52 vacancies that Joe nominated that have been filled who were all pro-choice. I had to dig for that. There was nobody telling us that. So, moments ago, or not moments, but not very long ago, this morning, it has been announced that a judge has announced her retirement, opening up that vacancy. And of course, I'm being deluged because I'm a riding with Biden fool. No, I am a anti-fascist Nazi hunter. That's what I am. And it's about time we woke up. What is happening is a concerted effort, whether it's by useful idiots or dupes in the media, and I try hard not to be one myself. But not at the expense of quitting the fight of punching these Nazis. You think it's hyperbole to call them Nazis? Look it up. They even got a Supreme Court giving them the enabling acts, to the point they're talking about preventing women from crossing state lines because they might need an abortion and they're going to get it. They're fracturing the United States of America into little nation states. 50 of them. I don't know. Maybe we'll have like some protectorates out there too. 52 district judges pro-choice. I don't know what's going on. I would never make a deal with McConnell. But this is a leak. This is a leak to damage the Harris-Biden ticket. It is a leak to damage us in the midterms. Reported duly, I understand. It's news. But when it's ferreted out not ferreted out, when it's doled out. There was no ferreting by these reporters. It was doled out to them by who? Oh, we can't let anybody know who our sources are. Now, the political game could be such that members of the Biden-Harris team, leak this out to sort of blunt the news of it. But I got to tell you, that's the way the other side works. You know? Nice guys don't do that. And maybe they're going to say, oh, well, Biden's not really a nice guy. I mean, it's possible that aides did this to sort of blunt the criticism, get it out there first. I understand that. But now, you can't breathe clean air or drink clean water anymore. Women are going to be prevented from crossing state lines unless they can prove they're not pregnant. Or, I don't know, they're going to just stop it all. Getting rid of birth control, anything. My God. Are nocturnal emissions going to be considered abortion now? When it gets to that, it's too late, right, guys? Holy hell. Riding with Biden. And that's supposed to be a bad thing. Riding with Biden doesn't mean going blindly into it. I would never advise Biden to make any kind of deal with McConnell. I know they got to horse trade and do all sorts of bullshit to be able to get the potholes filled. So yeah, I guess there is some sort of negotiating you have to do with McConnell because you got to get the potholes filled. And even then, I know McConnell will complain and whine and then back out on the deal at the very end. He'll get what he wants and then turn his back on whatever agreement he made. That's why I would never negotiate with Nazis. Or their appeasers. So yeah, I'm a bit livid. I apologize. But I know that when I come out of this bubble that we call West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, it's a salon, I know. But I dare not look at my Twitter feed while we're doing this. I will be deluged. How dare I? How dare I defend Biden and Harris? How dare I? Well, if you want to know how Hitler rose to power and the Nazis were able to do what they were able to do with their political violence, just look what's been going on here with the right wing for decades. They put all their little pawns in place. They moved their bishops into spaces of prominence on the board. Got their castles angled up. Their knights are elling out. And the useful dupes and the useful idiots and the dupes, the little pawns in the game, moved one space at a time, except for that first one where you can go two. And then guess what, babes and gents? Checkmate. Okay. I keep telling everybody you can't win the game without the queen. They're willing to give up the queen. They think they can shackle the queen. And it's possible. The queen can be captured. That's exactly what they're trying to do. The most powerful piece on the board. And they know it. And we're playing it like, we're following the rules. That's good. I don't like the political optics of a anti-abortion district judge in Kentucky and a deal with McConnell. Who does? But, once again, 52 pro-choice district judges, not one word. I have not read one word in the media about that. Very little. Okay, I mean, let's not be absolutist, but you didn't hear about that trumpeted across the airwaves, did you? No, you didn't. Even though that would be good news to those of us who know that this goose step march of fascism across our country is being enabled by the Supreme Court, the maggot Supreme Court. I don't know. Yeah, I guess the only regulatory agencies they're going to have is to make sure that the chattel who are, you have to have interstate commerce for chattel, right? Well, they're going to make sure that they're tagged and they got the proper shots or whatever it is that they need to make sure that, the little ladies aren't trying to stop being incubators, I guess. I don't know what their gambit is other than absolute power over other human beings. Let's roll back the 20th century. Let's go right into the 1840s, I guess. There's lots of stuff that was not explicitly described in the Constitution. But do you think it wasn't ever a debate? Do you think people weren't upset that there was an appeasement with the slave staters? Or the slaver states? Where am I? People were absolutely pissed about that. But you had the Brits coming down on you, and we needed every body we could get. And the friends that we know were kind of like our enemies, they were pissed at the Brits too. The only problem is they thought they could contain us, and we thought we could contain them, and then we had a big civil war, and then we thought we could contain them again. Due process, equal protection for all, Reconstruction, let's elect everybody, give everybody an opportunity to elect who they want, and they did. And the slaver states decided no. Reconstruction. That's a line too far. We're going to make a Mason-Dixon line. And they did. And we honored it. We made a mistake. Look where we are now. Riding with Biden is supposed to be a bad thing against that. It ain't going to be Bernie, and I know that's where they're angling for. Only Bernie can stop this. I know. Only all of us. All right? All of us. Enough of this. I need to get into the curated part of the show. It is at the end of the week. All right. Joe Biden. Prez. Don't negotiate with McConnell. That's negotiating with the Nazis. Okay? It doesn't turn out well at any point. It does not. We need to punch the Nazis, not shake their hands. All righty. What's on the rest of the menu here? Rest of the menu? That wasn't even on the menu. That was for free. Here, have a sample. Well, starting off, that Trump attacked Cassidy Hutchinson on Newsmax. That's where you go. Okay, on the rest of the menu, ransomware attacks are in... I'll start that over. Here, let's do this. Ransomware attacks are increasing in Oregon and elsewhere, too. The FBI just happens to have a cyberware ransomware office in Portland, Oregon, and that's where they're picking all this stuff up first. The Department of Transportation announced funding of a program to aid communities harmed by racist urban planning, and the Nazi maggots are going to say, there's never been any racism. And New York officials ruled against a natural gas-guzzling Bitcoin mining power plant. Boy, that stuff uses a lot of power. Okay, no wonder they're trying to get rid of regulatory agencies so that these Bitcoin gas-guzzling power plants can gas-guzzle until there's nothing left. After the break, we move to the chef's table, where the UN Special Envoy for Congo warned that the M23 rebel group has increasingly acted as a conventional army. And authorities have suspended the operations of Puerto Rico-based Euro-Pacific International Bank, which was under suspicion of money laundering and offshore tax evasion. The Pandora Papers catches up with everybody. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. At netrootsradio.com. To the right of the page is the chat room link, and the chat room is monitored by Kelly Lincoln. Thank you, Kelly, for doing so. And also thank you, Kelly, for Netroots Nation this year. Your physical presence is greatly appreciated as this comes up in August. So folks out there, stay tuned for reportage from Netroots Nation this year. If you would look across from that chat room link near the bottom of our homepage at netrootsradio.com to the left, there is the link to our Patreon page. And that means that we would like you to become recurring Patreons of Netroots Radio. Because though, you know, we pull out quite a bit of money out of our own wallets to keep this powerhouse of resistance resisting, we do need help in paying those bills so that we can fly under the radar and continue this powerhouse of resistance against dark forces, arrayed against not only the United States of America, but representative democracy worldwide. And I just wish that there were a few people who are supposed to be allies would appreciate that fact. Not necessarily to give us money, but by the fact that there are dark forces arrayed against the United States and representative democracy worldwide. All right, enough of that rant. If you would like to follow Netroots Radio on Twitter, it's so simple. You go to @NetrootsRadio. Thanks, Tom, for taking care of that. I take care of me, and who am I? I'm at Justice Putnam on Twitter. I guess I'm just some rando Twitter guy, according to these people. Well, my ego says I'm more than just a rando. Anyway, you can find me at Justice Putnam on Twitter. I post the show notes and links diary on Daily Codes about 10 minutes before showtime. It's not about, it is exactly 10 minutes before showtime because that's automatic. Thank you, Codes, for coding and, well, Elfling and everybody else for doing the coding to make it possible for us to do that. And then I have to manually put the show notes and links out on Twitter for you, but you can usually find the general show notes and links to those diaries by following me on Twitter at Justice Putnam. They're all there. You can follow the show on Twitter at Cookbook West and pick up podcasts by way of Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, iTunes, wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, now you can find the deep archive of the Netroots Radio Library for the last 11 years. 24/7, 365, continuous resistance broadcasting for 11 years. Who does that? And you can find the deep archive, the Netroots Radio Library, at the Internet Archive at archive.org. All right, this first offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy is out of the Oregonian. Fancy that. By, well, it looks like it's, let me scroll down a little bit further. Oh, it is Maxine Bernstein. She's the go-to reporter for a lot of the right-wing extremism that happens here out on the West Coast, more particularly the Northwest. Well, FBI agents with the Bureau's Cyber Task Force in Oregon helped investigators identify 3 Russian government hackers accused of compromising the computer networks of a company that runs a nuclear power plant in Kansas. The Portland-based FBI agents had expertise in the type of malicious software used to infect the operator of the Wolf Creek nuclear plant in Kansas. Their work with FBI agents in Anchorage, Alaska, and Bureau headquarters in Virginia led to federal indictments in Kansas of 3 men with ties to Russia's Federal Security Service, the principal security agency of Russia. Yeah, it's all fake news, isn't it? The case is just one example of the growing ransomware threat to vital U.S. industries, private companies, and public agencies, the head of Oregon's FBI says. Ransomware is malicious software that blocks access to a computer system or files until a ransom is paid. Ransomware complaints to the FBI increased by 82% from 2019 to 2021. I wonder why. Trump. Oregon's FBI Cyber Squad is one of the busiest units in the local FBI office, prompting Ramsey to redouble the office's efforts to sound the alarm about the pervasive threats. All of the FBI's 56 field offices have a cyber task force. In Oregon, in the past year, healthcare companies and school districts have seen significant targets, as well as being those targets, as more mom and pop shops and smaller businesses such as Yoshida Foods and McMemonins have also gotten the ransomware. The FBI noticed not only a significant increase in the number of ransomware variants, but also in the number of attacks and the amount of money demanded. A variant is a type of encryption or hacking tool or code used to infiltrate a computer system, experts said. In 2019, the FBI's Global Internet Crime Complaint Center received 2,047 ransomware complaints, with losses of more than $8.9 million reported, because a lot of times they pay more ransom not to have it reported. In 2021, the center received 3,729 ransomware complaints, with losses of more than $49.2 million. A jump from 8.9 to 49.2 million. Sounds like a growth industry. Offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Blue Moon Spirits Fridays, is by Oliver Willis out of the American Independent. The U.S. Department of Transportation announced the launch of a new $1 billion program under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act aimed at reconnecting communities, and specifically communities with predominantly minority populations, with economic opportunities located in areas from which they have been physically cut off by past road construction. Funding for the Reconnecting Communities pilot program was announced by Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who said, "Transportation can connect us to jobs, services, and loved ones, but we've also seen countless cases around the country where a piece of infrastructure cuts off a neighborhood or a community because of how it was built. Our focus is not about assigning blame. It isn't about getting caught up in guilt. It is about fixing the problem. It's about mending what has been broken, especially when the damage was done with taxpayer dollars." Buttigieg was scheduled to visit Birmingham, Alabama to promote the program. In a statement published by the Department of Transportation, Buttigieg said, using funds from President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law, we are proud to announce the launch of Reconnecting Communities, the first ever dedicated federal initiative to unify neighborhoods living with the impacts of past infrastructure choices that divided them. That's just a nice way of saying when they built the freeways and the highways, there was systemic racism built in as well. And there was. Brings us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe, part of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. New York officials denied required air permit renewals yesterday, Thursday, to a Bitcoin mining power plant on the grounds that it was a threat to the state's climate goals. The permitting decision was another example of New York putting the brakes on a cryptocurrency bonanza that has alarmed environmentalists. It also comes at a time when cryptocurrency prices have plunged, wiping out fortunes, fueling skepticism, and sparking calls for tighter scrutiny. The state's permitting decision involved Greenidge Generation, an old coal-fired plant by the shores of Seneca Lake, which had once been shut down, but was converted from coal to natural gas several years ago and began Bitcoin mining in earnest in 2020. The majority of the electricity produced by the plant is now used to run more than 15,000 computer servers for Bitcoin mining, which guzzles massive amounts of electricity. In rejecting the renewals, the State Department of Environmental Conservation said the plant's conversion to a cryptocurrency mining operation meant it was creating a significant new demand for energy for a wholly new purpose unrelated to its original permit. Instead of helping to meet the current electricity needs of the state, as originally described, the facility is operating primarily to meet its own significant new energy load, the agency said in a letter to the company. The company said it would continue operating under its current permit while it challenged the decision. It said there was no credible legal basis for the denial. Yeah, sure. Climate activists who see Greenidge as a test case have asked Governor Kathy Hochul's administration to deny renewal of the plant's permit to block similar projects. The decision comes as she is deciding whether to sign into law a 2-year moratorium on new and renewed air permits for fossil fuel power plants used for proof of work mining. All right, let's get to our break, and when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world and finish up with the stories that we have curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. This week, Unhappy Together. For surreal British mockumentary Brian and Charles, directed by Jim Archer in his first feature, and written by its stars David Earl and Chris Hayward, boy, is the marketing mistoned. Watch the zippy trailer with its quick cut set to the turtles happy together, and you'd think that this movie, about a reclusive, awkward rural inventor who builds himself a robot companion despite his lack of training and despite his incompetence, you'd think that this movie is a lighthearted romp. It's not. Instead, it's a moderately paced story framed by quiet establishment shots of the overcast Welsh landscape, grimly beautiful, yet leaking with isolation and disappointment. When Charles the Robot sees a travel show set in Honolulu and immediately wants to go because of the sun and the warmth, not because of the hula girls as the trailer suggests, we don't blame him. And all the movie's ads branded as a comedy, and maybe it's like Cringe without forcing you to sit in horrid moments. It's got the same rhythm as Cringe, where you hold the joke 2 or 3 beats longer than you should. And like Cringe, I think it wants me to laugh at these sad, flailing failures who maintain an unrealistic sense of their own self-worth and or importance in the face of their ineptitude, hoping, I guess, that I either excel in privilege or lack in empathy. And the copy for Brian and Charles is, "Some friends are built to last," which is clever, but Brian and Charles aren't friends. They are parent-child, with Charles starting out as a toddler and then rocketing through adolescence to adulthood, struggling to adjust to a world he's been thrown at in the care of a creator who's well-meaning but ill-equipped to mentor him. I don't know. If you like The Office and Parks and Rec and jokes about cabbages, maybe give this film a shot. If you get motion sick easily, maybe not. You know, documentary, handheld camera. There's a lot of instability in Brian and Charles that had me nauseous halfway through. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Clinton Johnston. Catch up with us at TakeTwoMovieReview.com and feed us back on our channel on YouTube.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Blue Moon Spirits Fridays, because we are all Nighthawks in the Diner of Life. We always begin, whether from around the world, along the banks of the Rogue River in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon, on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 59 degrees Fahrenheit, expecting highs in the upper 80s, winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and then a few passing clouds tonight with lows in the mid to upper 50s, winds out of the west northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and then sunshine and clouds mixed tomorrow with highs only near 80, with winds out of the west northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. It looks like our forecast for rain is now forecasting no rain, but we might get it back because it's out there and it wants to come and water us again. Yes, we want it. Confirmed cases of coronavirus in Jackson County in the southern part of Oregon stands at 466,049 confirmed cases, with 554 confirmed deceased. Grass pollen is rated high outside the window here in Rogue River proper. The air quality index for the Rogue River Valley region is in the good range at 26 parts per million, and that daytime UV index is very high at level 9. You know what to do. You better take care. Barometric pressure is holding steady at 30.06 inches. Visibility is up to 10 miles, and relative humidity is at 80%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that are crowdsources from around the world. London is 70 degrees and partly cloudy. Paris is 72 and sunny. Rome is a sweltering 91 degrees and fair. Kyiv is 85 degrees and sunny. Kabul is 81 and clear. Hong Kong is 82 degrees with a light rain shower, but lots of wind. Tokyo is 81 and clear. Sydney, Australia is 54 and cloudy. San Francisco, California is 52 and cloudy. And New York, New York is 85 degrees Fahrenheit and fair. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. Edith M. Lederer of the Associated Press brings us this first amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy Blue Moon Spirits Fridays. The UN Special Envoy for Congo warned that the M23 rebel group has increasingly acted as a conventional army during escalating military action in the country's volatile east, and could threaten the UN peacekeeping force charged with protecting civilians. Bintu Keita urged the UN Security Council to fully back regional efforts to defuse tensions between Congo and Rwanda over M23 rebels and other armed groups that have raised fears of war between the neighboring countries. She also urged Congo and Rwanda to seize the opportunity to resolve their differences at an upcoming summit posted by Angola's President João Lourenço in the capital, Luanda. Eastern Congo, which borders Rwanda, lives with the daily threat from dozens of armed groups that jostle for a piece of the region's rich mineral wealth, which the world mines for electric cars, laptops, and mobile phones. The M23, one of the most notorious rebel groups, surged into action this year and captured a key trading town in eastern Congo earlier this month. Congo has accused Rwanda of supporting the M23, which Rwanda has long denied. Each country has accused the other of recent incursions.
Je te donne c'est mon amour pour la vie entière. La promesse de me trouver à tes genoux. Aussitôt que tu m'appelles, rester toujours fidèle. C'est tout, c'est tout. Je te donne tous mes printemps, mes étés de mer, mes automnes quand les feuilles tombent partout. Si ce n'est pas une bonne affaire, je te donne tous mes hivers.
Danica Koto of the Associated Press brings us this final amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Authorities announced yesterday, Thursday, they have suspended the operations of Puerto Rico-based Euro-Pacific International Bank, which officials previously said was under suspicion of facilitating money laundering and offshore tax evasion. The bank was founded by Peter Schiff. Oh, vulture capitalist Peter Schiff? Yes, that vulture capitalist Peter Schiff, who we all know is a U.S. stockbroker and financial analyst, and had 15,000 accounts by the end of 2019, according to online documents. The investigation was launched by Puerto Rico's Office of the Commissioner of Financial Institutions, which said the bank that obtained a license to operate in the U.S. territory in 2017 came under scrutiny following a lack of internal controls, a lack of compliance, and a level of insolvency. Commissioner Natalia Zaquaria said that despite numerous opportunities, the bank has not wanted to comply. The bank, located in the capital of San Juan, did not return a message asking for comment. Jim Lee, chief of the IRS Criminal Investigations, said he could neither confirm nor deny whether Schiff was under investigation. Sequoia declined to say how many clients the bank has and its total assets, saying that it is confidential information. However, she said creditors would be paid in a certain order, probably pennies on the dollar, I would think. The bank was formed in the eastern Caribbean island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 2011, then moved to Puerto Rico. In a 2020 presentation, the bank said 70% of its clients were corporations and small and medium-sized businesses. The other was 30%, divided equally between individuals and retail banking. The bank does not provide loans or credit cards, but rather mutual funds and precious metals accounts, among other things. Like money laundering? Well, that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day and the week. But you do know Netroots Radio broadcasts on, and we will meet up here on Monday for River City Hash Monday, so do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day, all night, and all weekend for all the breaking news as it breaks. And we will meet up here on Monday, right here in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit.